Okay, how to use a long line safely. First and foremost, keep 2 hands on the lead. You can see when my dog is trotting, I'm letting the lead slide. And if I run out of lead, I bring her to a slow stop. So I gradually increase the pressure on the lead. I give her time to process that information, that she's no longer allowed to move forward. This is a very wild environment, so she's very excited. She's not been here for a while. And then when I think she's ready, I'm going to recall her back to me. At the moment, she's quite fixated, but she's starting to shift her body weight this way. It is! Good girl, very nice. And then, off we go again. So you can either have loops in your hands, and then you gradually unravel them. And then as your dog stops and sniffs, if she does stop and sniff, if you run out of lead, you would come to a gentle stop. I tend to move a little bit into it, so rather than just stop with your back really upright, that's going to actually help you absorb any shock of impact. And you can see as she comes back, I bring the loop back into my hand. The other way is you can just let the lead trail, especially this is good with 10-meter long lines. Put a knot towards the end so you can tell it's running out. This is quite good to stop people feeling like they're getting in a tangle. So if you notice your long line gets really tangled all of the time, then just letting the lead trail behind you stops you getting in a tangle. And you can see that whenever she stops, I just keep moving so I don't get stuck behind my dog. So you'll notice that I start to move ahead. I might slow down to make sure she stops and sniffs for longer, but I don't get stuck behind my dog, and this way we always have lots of lead to use. So here she'll catch me up, and then I start walking. So this means you're always watching your dog, that you always have lots of lead to use, that you're not constantly stopping and getting yanked. Now, obviously some dogs are a lot faster than others, and it's really important to note that one of the most crucial things that you don't do with a long line is to let it pull on the ground. And I'll find a moment to demonstrate what I mean. So if you do this, where it pulls on the ground, that's probably the biggest cause of long line injuries, is when people let their lead trail on the ground. And the reason for that is your dog can take off at speed, you get an almighty yank as the lead suddenly becomes tight, and people can get broken fingers, shoulders pulled out of joint, or their feet leave the floor and they take off. So never do this, always keep the long line off the ground. And you can see it's soft, so my dog is not pulling. The loose lead rules still apply for a long line. And you can see it's never touching the ground, and I've always got 2 hands on the lead. So I'm never just like this, or obviously I am at this moment. I've always got 2 hands on the lead. If I want to stop my dog, I bring her to a gentle stop. I give her time to think about the fact that we have stopped. Good girl. Here she comes back on her own accord. A really great tip is to put your treats on the floor. This gives you time to sort your long line out, to look around, check what's going on, and then off you go again. If you run out of lead, here's a slow stop. See that I move into it, I extend my arms, give her time to realise she's come to a stop. Now, never stand like this with a long line. If you've got a massive dog and they take off, you're going to leave the ground. So whenever I use a long line, I always have braced feet. So I've always got my feet apart to make sure that I'm as stable as possible if the dog starts to yank. You can see here I move ahead. Now if she was greeting a dog, I would hold the lead like this and always stay my side of my dog so that they don't get tangled. So I'll choose another little moment to show you what I mean. There's no dogs around for me to demonstrate. Let's say she's sniffing a dog, I move to her side so then they don't get tangled. So you might have to continue to rotate while they're sniffing and greeting, especially if it's a circular sniff. here the lead runs out and comes to a stop. If it's a strong dog, 2 hands. Now if you need their attention, let's say you need them to move them out, you might walk up the lead. So you don't let them inch forward. You walk up the lead, good girl, and that might enable you to get their attention more quickly. Okay, so how to store your long line. Often I see at the start of a walk people getting a right tangle with their long line, and I think actually how we store it can set our walks up for success. So if you're walking your dog on a shorter lead, let's say you're street walking them to a park, then what you would have is obviously them clipped onto a shorter lead. Just realised he's rolled in some horse poo, which is delightful. But anyway, so he's on a short lead and you get to your park and now you want to clip him to your long line. So I tend to make sure you've got a belt or some belt loops and you can clip your long line to those. And the way I store it, which I will show you in a moment, means that very quickly you can unravel your long line, clip it on to your dog's harness or collar. You should use the long line attached to a harness. Get rid of your short lead and then off you go with no tangles. So you see how quick that was, no tangles at all. Very good. Good boy. So how I store this long line, very windy, okay. Drape the buckle over your hand. Start making small loops around your hand. Try and have it where your dog isn't sitting on your long line. So really small loops around your hand. Now that buckle posts through twice, and now it's ready to clip onto your belt loop, onto your treat pouch, onto your belt. So that's how you store a long line in a way that means that you can start your walk without getting in a tangle. I find that's a massive deterrent for people using a long line. It's the fuss that they cause. It's all tangled, it's all knotted, their dog's pulling and the long line's coiled around their hands. So how you start off with a long line is going to help